It's Monday, October 5. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. To find out the latest COVID-19 figures, we get this updated report by way of the Health and Wellness Ministry.
The island recorded 117 new COVID-19 cases over the last 24 hours, bringing the overall tally to 7,012. No deaths were reported over the period, and the death toll remains at 120. According to the Health and Wellness Ministry, 175 recoveries were also recorded, bringing the number of recovered cases to 2,635. The number of active cases now stand at 4,163. The parish breakdown for the new cases are as follows. 78 were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew, 21 in St. Catherine, 5 in Clarendon, 4 in Manchester, 5 in St. Elizabeth, 2 in St. James, and 1 in both Westmoreland and St. Anne. At this time, there are 38 moderately ill and 12 critically ill patients. 145 persons are currently hospitalized. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
With the COVID-19 pandemic now at a community spread phase on the island, the government is implementing more initiatives to protect our elders in infirmaries. Work is ongoing to increase the number of rooms at the island's Golden Age homes to facilitate social cases from public hospitals. Older persons are a particularly vulnerable population. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says this is being done to increase the capacity for care and treatment of elderly patients. His Worship, Mayor of Kingston, Delroy Williams, gave an update recently while on a tour of one of these homes alongside Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton.
To persons that are social cases in the hospital, that we can relocate some of the persons at various hospitals here to free up bed space in the hospital for more critical cases there. So it's part of alternative arrangement for persons in the hospital.
Mayor Williams was addressing journalists during a tour of the Vineyard Town Golden Age home. It's one of the largest of its kind in Jamaica, with over 400 residents and over 100 staff members. The staff at Vineyard Town Golden Age home has been working to ensure their residents remain safe. The compound is cleaned at least 3 times daily.
The regular cleaning and the dedicated.
That cleaning is in place from the time COVID started.
Yes.
From Minister McKenzie, we had hired some persons to do the cleaning.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness says more than half of the number of deaths linked to COVID-19 have been persons above 60 years old with underlying illnesses. Members of the public are advised to be vigilant in the practice of infection prevention and control measures to guard against the spread of COVID-19, including the frequent washing of hands with soap and water, maintaining the prescribed 6-foot physical distance from others, and wearing a mask in public. Plans are in the works for a COVID-19 relief program for persons in the fisheries sector. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Floyd Green says the government will provide details on a program in the next 2 weeks. He gave the details at a public forum hosted for local fisherfolk at the Old Harbour Bay Baptist Church in St. Catherine recently. The forum, which was also held virtually, formed part of the island-wide program to engage farmers and fisherfolk in dialogue to chart the way forward for the agriculture and fisheries sector. Tourism is one of the world's largest industrial sectors, driving job creation and economic growth. Pre-COVID-19 Jamaica welcomed 14.3 million visitors to the island. The industry directly employed 170,000 Jamaicans. Earnings topped $3.7 billion, contributed 9.5% to Jamaica's GDP. The COVID-19 pandemic resulted in lockdowns and a contraction of the sector. The Planning Institute of Jamaica, Pbcj, in preliminary data presented on performance for the April to June 2020 quarter, noted a significant fall-off in stopover arrivals by 98.9%. Visitor arrivals fell by over 90%. The thrust now is to transform the tourism industry to include bigger markets for production of goods and services through linkages and the rural development of tourism. More in this report from Carol Francis.
Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett is optimistic that the tourism sector will be the catalyst that will help Jamaica recover quickly from the effects of the novel coronavirus COVID-19. He says tourism is a transforming agent in rural areas, and the focus for Jamaica's reimagined tourism product includes rural tourism.
If we truly want tourism to be the heartbeat of Jamaica's economy, then we must exploit the considerable potential of our rural communities. Building out a community tourism framework is a critical act to the sustainability and growth of the sector and indispensable to the diversification of our tourism product. More importantly, it will spur rural development and by so doing contribute to the economic empowerment of rural citizens.
The essence of the experiences for visitors found in rural areas has a twofold effect. It offers visitors a unique experience while transforming the areas into bustling centers of economic activity.
We saw that here in Jamaica. Ocho Rios was a sleepy little fishing village 60 years ago. Today, it is a buzzing center of commerce, creating jobs and providing economic well-being for thousands, and is a center of economic activity. Montego Bay, 80 years ago, 50, 60 years ago, was in a similar position. Today, Montego Bay is the largest tourism center in the Caribbean, driving billions of dollars and creating jobs and well-being for hundreds of thousands of people. Negril was a sleepy little swamp area, infested by mosquitoes and so on. Today, Negril is the most critical center for what we call casual tourism.
St. Thomas and the rest of the South Coast is the next frontier for development of rural tourism. Millions of dollars is already being made available to small farmers for technology to improve farming practices, entrepreneurs to provide training opportunities, a better tourism experience, ease of access, and marketing support.
The artisan villages is a new concept to enable our farmers and also our providers of services, primarily entertainment services, but cultural products, to generate creative outputs so our artisans will be able to stay on location, receive a design from a visitor who comes to the shores in the morning, say from a cruise, leaves that design with the artisan, has the product executed, and on his return to the ship, collects the finished product and pays the artisan his price.
For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
The economic shock of COVID-19 has destroyed jobs and access to health coverage. Jamaica's Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, has come up with an innovative way to provide visitors to the island with a sense of peace regarding their physical health while galvanizing the tourism industry. According to Mr. Bartlett, as of November 1, a comprehensive health insurance and repatriation program for visitors to the island will come on stream. He made the announcement at the reopening of the boutique resort Zoetry in Montego Bay, St. James on the weekend. Marlon Samuels reports.
As Jamaica positions itself to become the most COVID-resilient destination in the Caribbean, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett on the weekend announced a historic health insurance and repatriation program. The Tourism Insurance Program, slated to start on November 1, 2020, is designed to give Jamaica a competitive edge. According to Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett, Jamaica will be the first country in the world to have an end-to-end health insurance security for visitors coming to the island. The insurance is reportedly designed to give another layer of coverage to destination Jamaica, while ensuring visitors are compliant in a cost-effective manner. The insurance will reportedly see a small cess levied on tickets of persons traveling to Jamaica. The funds will be used for an insurance policy in the event of a healthcare issue linked to COVID-19 is needed while the visitor is on the island. According to Mr. Bartlett, if the visitor to the island becomes seriously ill, a plane equipped with paramedical support will take them back to their destination. The insurance will add to Jamaica's image of being the most COVID-resilient destination in the Caribbean and is another nail in the coffin of lip service. Jamaica's COVID-resilient corridor gives Jamaica the ability to manage and trace the movement of tourists in tightly managed and enforced protocols, in enforced geographic spaces where they can enjoy their stay. The resilient corridor concept is reportedly being hailed as an example to be followed. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
Virgin Atlantic has resumed flights to the island. Flight VS-165 from London, England, carrying 192 passengers, touched down at Sangster International Airport in St. James on October 2. Virgin Atlantic flights to Jamaica are expected twice weekly. The airline has reportedly put several protocols in place to protect its passengers and staff from contracting COVID-19. The island's borders were closed to incoming passengers in March of this year to limit the spread of the COVID-19 virus and was reopened in June. An unwanted side effect of mass industrialization and overdependence on fossil fuel use is the depletion of the planet's ozone layer. Trees are excellent sources of oxygen and are vital in managing the planet's biosphere and greenhouse gas levels. Over the weekend, Jamaica celebrated National Tree Planting Day. Prime Minister Andrew Holness marked the occasion by reiterating a planned initiative to plant 3 million trees over the next 3 years. As part of the National Tree Planting Initiative, the Forestry Department is asking all Jamaicans to plant trees at home or in their communities.
While the country continues to develop, the government's aim is to ensure that there is no net loss of Jamaica's forest cover. Today is the 17th National Tree Planting Day. Our National Tree Planting Initiative is 3 million trees in 3 years. Plant a tree today for a prosperous tomorrow. An important aspect of this initiative will be the training of over 1,000 interns in forestry management through the Housing Opportunity, Production and Employment Program, HOPE. And these HOPE interns will be trained and certified in basic core elements of forest management, including seedling production, tree establishment and maintenance, and forest law. In addition to 1,000 HOPE interns that will benefit under the program, employment opportunities will be provided for persons from communities adjacent to areas to be planted. 2 million timber seedlings will be planted on or over 3,000 hectares of land, and the remaining 1 million timber or ornamental tree seedlings will be distributed to the public for planting, as well as planted in parks along roadways and major thoroughfares in major towns across Jamaica.
Caribbean Examination Council's chairman, Sir Hilary Beckles, says the independent review team looking into concerns raised about CXC's grading system is to provide a report by October 16. Since the release of the 2020 results for the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, and Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, there have been complaints throughout the region about inconsistencies in grades received by candidates. Some education ministries, including Jamaica, wrote to CXC regarding the issue. Pre-exposure prophylaxis is now being offered as an additional preventative option for people at substantial risk of contracting the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. Jamaica AIDS Support for Life has officially launched its PrEP program through a pilot study with 50 participants. The drug is to be taken daily by people who do not have HIV to reduce the risk of contracting the virus if exposed. It works best as part of a combination of preventative services that includes regular HIV testing and condom usage. The recent COVID-19 positive result for U.S. President Donald Trump has wobbled some global markets. For example, oil has seen some volatility over the last few days. However, prices rose on Monday. We get this and more market news in the Business Report with host Gabriel Thompson.
In Friday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 6,618 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 75 stocks, of which 32 advanced, 32 declined, and 11 traded firm. The Junior Market Index advanced by 34 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, Access Financial Services, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, Burrito Investments Limited, and Blue Power Group Limited. Trading firm were Carreras Limited, Everything Fresh Limited, and Fosrich Company Limited. Tropical Battery Company Limited was the volume leader with 5.4 million units, followed by Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with 2.5 million units and Mailpack Group Limited with 1.7 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Friday, October 2 ended trading at $143.95. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $109.04. The pound sterling traded for $186.57, and the euro ended trading at $170.02. Oil prices rose on Monday, lifted by comments from doctors for U.S. President Donald Trump, suggesting he could be discharged from hospital as soon as Monday, just a few days after his positive coronavirus test sparked widespread alarm. Brent crude futures were up $1.20 to $40.47 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained $1.26 to $38.31 a barrel. And that's it for this edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabriel Thompson.
In regional news, a high school in Barbados has been ordered closed after a fifth-form student tested positive for COVID-19. More from Barbados today.
The LSD school is closed for 14 days beginning today. This after a 15-year-old fifth-form student tested positive for COVID-19. The teen is part of a cluster of COVID-19 cases found in a single family. 6 members of that family were diagnosed with the virus between September 30th and October 3rd. Education Minister Santia Bradshaw said classes will resume at the school plant on October 19th.
During this time, we are asking all parents, students, and teachers to cooperate fully with the Ministry of Health officials as they continue to do contact tracing. Students must, wherever possible, remain at home, and parents should contact the Ministry of Health and Wellness hotline in the event that they develop symptoms of any kind associated with COVID-19. Any student or member of staff who may wish also to be tested, who may not have come into contact with the young lady, will obviously not be refused at this stage. Fortunately for us, the students at the LSD school have always embraced the use of technology, and the students are very familiar with working in an online environment. In fact, over the course of the early part of COVID-19, there were some of the students who I interfaced with in a virtual classroom. And our reports to date indicate that there are just over 100 students at the school whom it has been reported are not in possession of a device and whom we are making best efforts to ensure that they are provided with such devices to be able to continue to be able to educate themselves over the course of the next 2 weeks.
Bradshaw, speaking at a press conference yesterday, said the cleaning would also begin at the Black Rock Educational Institution.
It is also our intention to thoroughly clean the school plant before they return to school. And that cleaning will start from this week, but we'll continue to ensure, under the guidance of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, that everything is in place prior to the reopening of school. I want to take the opportunity to remind Barbadians that across the world, persons have opened their schools, and in short order, in many cases, they have also had to close their schools. This is not new to the rest of the world, and it certainly is not at this point new to Barbados. We are no different, but I do believe that where we have certainly been able to blaze a trail is that we've been able to work with all of our stakeholders to get our schools reopened in a timely manner, to do so in a safe environment, to ensure that all health and safety protocols have been followed.
Meanwhile, President of the Barbados Secondary Teachers Union, Mary Redmond, has issued yet another call for strict adherence of the COVID-19 protocols put in place for the island's schools.
In our discussions earlier with the Chief Medical Officer, we were assured that if the student has been found to have commingled, or if their relatives in the household or in households nearby that could be, or that are found to be positive, then of course similar protocols would follow. In the meantime, of course, because we know that the schools potentially are hotbeds of infection, because of the numbers of people in the school at any one point in time, still, even though we are doing the blended approach, we are urging that parents underscore the importance of children wearing their masks and that they follow the proper protocols. We are also asking that the principals of schools reinforce this. We are at a very serious stage in this infection.
One sector in Trinidad and Tobago that has been badly hit by COVID-19 pandemic is tourism. And although experts say the industry is resilient, there's no clear future as it stands. Several countries in the region have already started planning for the restart of international travel and for when the term revenge travel is realized. TTT News' Sunil Lala spoke with a couple of industry leaders to see how this country is planning and its progress in its preparation.
Because right now the tourism is like one of those, a species of animal that is close to being eradicated, not only in Trinidad.
The view of President of the Trinidad Hotels, Restaurants and Tourism Association, Hassel Tom, portraying the vulnerability of the sector that is not unique to this country. Just over $100 million was allocated to tourism in the 2019-2020 budget, just 0.2% of the national budget. And while Mr. Tom would not be opposed to a greater allocation for the sector, he says the utilization of the funds through marketing and helping tourism stakeholders weather the storm should take precedence. But he believes government's main priority should be to be accepted into the CARICOM bubble.
Our first meaningful step back into encouraging persons to come into the country once the borders are open is being able to meet the criteria to be part of the CARICOM bubble. As of now, we have not met those criteria because our caseloads are still too high.
Meanwhile, Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association President Chris James says, although the island's international arrivals have been dropping since 2007, COVID-19 came just as the industry was witnessing a slight jump. Since March, hotel occupancy rates have been near 0%, and Tobago has been depending heavily on visitors from Trinidad. And while this may not realize the sector's main goal of earning foreign exchange, Mr. James says it is a start. But he's looking ahead and wants government to start planning to welcome international travelers once again.
We should be talking to airlines now, because one of the fears we have in Tobago is that the other islands that are opening have already spoken to airlines, have already on schedules of airlines. We know there's going to be reduced airlift to the region, and we also know bookings are coming in. So we don't want either the airlift to be exhausted or the potential customers to be exhausted.
Both industry leaders also commented on the recent announcement that Carnival 2021 would be cancelled. While Mr. James believes Tobago does not benefit a great deal from Carnival festivities, Mr. Tom says it would be a major blow to the Trinidad market, but notes government did not have a choice.
A major part of the revenue generation potential and capacity for especially Port of Spain hotels is premised on Carnival.
Mr. James also hailed government's $50 million investment via the Tourism Accommodation Project, which provides incentives for the upgrade of small to medium-sized properties. In a media release on Friday, Tourism Trinidad Limited's acting chief executive officer, Heidi Alert, said she believes by providing these type of investment initiatives, providers would be encouraged to improve their product in the COVID-19 era and beyond. She also announced that Tourism Trinidad has joined with over 25 tour operators in a Sweet Trinidad staycation program to revive the local tourism industry. Sonolala, TTT News.
Still in Trinidad and Tobago, one former member of parliament and current attorney at law is urging banks to be more lenient with homeowners who may be unable to pay their mortgages at this time. The attorney believes banks and commercial institutions should be considerate and believes during these economic hard times they should not seek to obtain more than $1 as their profit at the end of the year. More in this report.
A few days ago, veteran comedian Errol Fabian was given a second chance after citizens chipped in to help save his home and television station after he was evicted from his St. Joseph home. Commenting on the latest development is former St. Augustine MP Prakash Ramada, who says it was a sigh of relief to have heard Mr. Fabian's home may have been saved by the generosity of citizens. But now he is wondering about many others who have been met with a similar situation and may not have had that second chance. Mr. Ramada believes it may now be the time for banks to step up and think about the long-term sustainability of its customers, especially for those who may be unable to pay their mortgages at this time.
Now, in this very difficult period, where the banks need not show any profit other than $1. Once their costs and their expenses have been met, that should be sufficient so that those who cannot now pay the mortgages for their homes shouldn't be in a position where they will lose it. It is about the long-term survival of the entire economy.
Mr. Ramada does not believe asking for nothing more than $1 profit at the end of the year is unreasonable, quoting an old saying that you cannot kill the goose that lays the golden egg.
If we cause the rupture of home ownership, it takes away the confidence in the future for those who wish in the future to possibly take mortgages. You cannot kill your market. If we allow their customers to survive, then those are customers that will be available to them in the future.
Mr. Ramada is also urging government to offer some support by meeting with its stakeholders, such as the TNT Mortgage Finance Company or another institution created by government for a possible solution.
And that it takes leadership now, and I would love to see the Prime Minister and the government engage in a meeting with all of the stakeholders to try to come up with a viable position going forward.
The former MP believes if people continue to be evicted from their homes and these properties are put up for sale, there may also be a damage to the real estate market since many properties will not be immediately sold. Sonolala, TTT News.
In sports, we kick off with football. Plans are afoot to increase the team roster of the National Premier League from the current 12 to 16 by 2023. On paper, this sounds progressive, but some club owners have thrown cold water on the idea. Harbourview chairman Carvel Stewart and Humber Lion head coach Andrew Price do not believe that the measure is feasible. Stewart says that the player pool remains small, so the expansion of MPL teams is not viable. He also contends that the age-old issues such as financial resources remain a challenge for the league. The changes were announced on September 22 by Jamaica Football Federation President Michael Ricketts. Along with added teams, there will be no regulation of teams for the next 2 seasons, with only promotion occurring for the next 2 seasons. And in a weather report at 10 p.m. last night, Tropical Depression 26 formed and is now located near latitude 17.0 north, latitude 78.2 degrees west. The depression is moving toward the west-northwest near 15 kilometers per hour, and this general motion should continue for the next day or so. On the forecast track, the center of the depression is expected to move away from Jamaica, heading near or over the Cayman Islands later tonight, and approach the Isle of Youth and western Cuba Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening. The tropical cyclone is forecast to move into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico Tuesday night or early Wednesday. The Meteorological Service will continue to monitor the progress of this system. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station. Stay safe.